Good morning, friends. Myself, Dr. Yahya Khan, Assistant Professor and Head Department of Botany, J.A.T Arts Science and College for Women, Malegaon Dist-Nashik. Today, we are going to study about introduction to plant growth regulators. The plant growth regulators are nothing but these are also been called as a plant growth hormones or phytohormones that are beneficial for the plant for its growth and development. In case of root, in case of shoot, leaves, there are different number of phytohormones that are playing role for the growth of plant and for the development of the plant. So in this session, we are going to discuss about these plant growth regulators. See, as the plant require light, water, oxygen, minerals and other nutrients for their growth and development, apart from these external requirements, and these requirements are the external requirements are also been called because the plant is taking these requirements from outside the plant source. It may be air, it may be soil, or it may be from the water, that it may take the different types of nutrients, minerals for their growth and development. Apart from these external requirements, plants also depend on the certain organic compounds to signal in between the cell to cell, to signal in between part to part, like root to shoot, shoot to leaves, as like that. So in this case, and also regulate and control the growth of plants in signaling, in regulation, and in the growth of the plant. And these are collectively called as plant growth regulators. Those components which are organic compounds, they are been also been referred as a plant growth regulators or plant growth promoters, plant growth hormones that we can call. They are growth promotes. In the next slide we will see how they which hormones are been coming in the in case of the regulators, and which are the promoters and which are the inhibitors also, because some hormones also play in the regulation or the inhibition of growth, and some play in the growth re- regulation and the growth hormones. The growth hormones or the growth regulators can also be defined as organic substances which are synthesized in a minute quantities, means in a least quantities. These organic compounds are required apart quantities in one part of the plant body and transported to other part where influence specific physiological process. Means in this case, these plant growth promoters required, or these plant growth regulators require organic substances, or they can be defined as organic substances which are synthesized in a minute quantities, mean in a least quantities, in a very small quantities. The quantities we will see later in the next slide, how much quantity is required in case of hormones, whether there are different groups of the hormones, they require in a different concentration. So these are nothing but this is required at a minute quantities, mean in a different, in a small concentration, in a little bit concentration, to promote the growth. As like that, in case of one of the part body transported, means in case of these components, these organic components are transported to another part where they influence a specific physiological process. Influence means they took place, they went for specific physiological process. That physiological maybe process, maybe growth of the part, maybe in case of division of the part, that is the different things that is are coming in the physiological process. So now you got my point. Exact what is plant hormone that they are been required for the growth of the plant in case of different parts, in case of different concentration, and these are hormones are been known as organic components. See, in the next slide, they are signal molecules, as the in the previous slide we had seen, they are the signal molecules. Means these molecules are being referred as a signal molecules. Means when in case of these particular molecules signaling to the plant system, signaling to the tissue system, signaling to the cell system, and produced in the plants that occur in the extremely low concentration, as I earlier told, they require in a very little bit concentration for the growth of the plant. Then next, they're also referred to as plant growth regulators or the phytohormones. These hormones are generally five types of plant hormones, namely auxin, gibberellin or gibberellins, that you can pronounce like that, cytokinins, abscisic acid, ethylene. So these are the five major groups of the hormones, and these major groups of hormones are required in case of, these are the major groups of the hormones in every plant system. Most of the angiospermic plant, they require these type of hormones for their growth, for their development, and for their physiological process. Auxins, auxins are coming as like the indole acetic acid, that is the main representative of auxin. Auxin is the group of hormone basically, but in case of, when you see, in case of indole acetic acid, indole butyric acid, indole naphthalene acetic acid, but in case of, these are the different naturally occurring and synthetic ones, these are we will see later. Gibberellins, in case of grapes, the gibberellins are been required. There are number of molecules. Firstly, they are been identified in a different way by the fungus, that is Gibberella fujikori. That's why it has been known as a gibberellin, because it was discovered from the fungi. Firstly, it was discovered from the fungi Gibberella fujikori. That's why it has been known as a gibberellins. The components are the organic compounds synthesized by the fungus. Cytokinins. Cytokinins are the basic parts or the components that are required for the division of the cell. Means these types of hormones are play role in the division of the cell. Means cyto means the cell and kinins means to divide. Means those organic compounds that have capability to divide the cell at that time, these are been referred as a cytokinin. And when those organic compounds have capability to divide the cell, at that time the cell divides. The cell divides, the tissue has been formed. The tissue had been formed, the part had been formed. So at like that, these are nothing but these are components of dividation of cells. Then abscisic acid and the ethylene. So these are the organic compounds that playing role in the flowering, in the fruit ripening. In case of abscisic acid, jasmonic acid is also one group of the hormone that they require. And in addition to these, means when where we are going through auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin, and abscisic acid and ethylene. In addition to these, there are more derivative components. Matlab more, in case of, there are more number of derived components that require for the growth of the plant. Both, see here now the differentiation took place. In case of these derivative components are these hormones that may be natural, that may be synthetic one, so which also act as a plant growth regulators. Means these derivative, apart from these main group of the plant, main types of the plant, apart from them, some more derivative components are also been present and also been required for the growth, for the, and act as a plant growth regulators. See, in a next slide we are going to study these are the plant growth regulators or the types of the plant growth regulators. These growth regulators have a diverse chemical composition, such as gases in case of ethylene, terpenes in case of gibberellic acid, or carotenoid derivatives means it is abscisic acid. Basically, they are the groups of the terpenes. in case of gibberellic acid. These are the chemical compositions. There are diversity in the chemical composition, where different components they are been present as like that, or the different chemical compositions. So in case of when we go through the chemical or in the as a part of the chemistry, this is part of the phytochemistry actually. So when it is comes in the gaseous mode, they are the ethylene, terpenes, gibberellic acid, and carotenoid. So based on their action or based on their effect in the plant system, the plant growth regulators are broadly classified into two major groups. The plant growth regulators are broadly classified in two major groups. First one, it is a plant growth promoter and plant growth inhibitor. See here, two groups are been classified. Means the promote some hormones they play role, or some plant growth regulators they play role in the growth promotion, and some are also play as a role in case of plant growth inhibitors. So these are the different conditions in case of on the basis of their action. So these classification are basically on the basis of their classification. So auxin, gibberellin, and cytokinin are grouped in the plant growth promotion, while means auxin, gibberellic acid, and cytokinins means terpenes and the cytokinins and the auxins can basically called as terpenes, gibberellins. They are playing role in the growth promotion, while abscisic acid and ethylene are grouped into the plant growth inhibitors. And next, ethylene can be grouped into the promotion or into the plant inhibition. Means